this is an awesome video because I have got an absolute ton of stuff done. The progress I've made on Predator Bay 3000 and the 1,000-gallon mangrove estuary, if you're waiting for this tank, you're going to be happy. You're going to be smiling like me because I got a lot done. We are close, done? We'll see. You got to wait and see. The 600-gallon Asian jungle, if you've always wanted to see that tank looking beautiful, you're going to like this video. Let's just say the CO2 is doing what CO2 does. Tank is looking, I'm going to give it away. It's looking awesome, but I'll show it to you later. If you want to catch up on the 4,500-gallon Xingu River Aquarium, how are all those baby grow-outs who really aren't babies anymore? Can you really call a 2-foot fish a baby? Probably not. We're going to see those guys, and as you saw in the intro, you can get a little feeding video with those guys. But they are doing awesome, and is it time to pull the divider on the 4,500-gallon? We'll see. And last but not least, baby sharks. The shark pond is set up. All the eggs have been moved over to the shark pond. It's up and running. The current Predator Bay is no longer an estuary. We have a dedicated spot for them while we finish up on Predator Bay 3000. And do we have babies? Do we have wigglers? Well, again, watch the video and find out. Let's go. So this is the rubber-bait stock tank that my assistant helped me set up, and this is going to be for moving over the shark eggs and shark babies. Basically has a pool filter sand in the bottom. I moved in, well, of course then salt water was made, and then I moved in live rock from the 700-gallon sump that's supporting the 1,500-gallon salt system. There's basically just a gyre wave maker in the back there, and this is one, I've had really good luck with these lights. I've had them for a long time. I use them on a bunch of my salt tanks. I mean, they make freshwater lights too, but I just have the salt ones because they're much less expensive than most salt lights. They're just night crew LED lights, and they've done really well. They're nice and simple. I just have it on a timer, turns on, timer turns it off, but they make a nice white blue light for marine, and they do great. So again, they're cheap. Just thought I'd point that out. No affiliation or anything like that. No sponsorship. Just worked well for. I've had them for years and years and years, and they don't have any problems. And they don't get crazy hot either. Like a lot of those cheapo lights get hot. These aren't. It's not hot at all. I mean, it's not even barely warm to the touch. It's thick. It's got like a big heat sink on it. It's not one of those ones that's super thin and chintzy and gets super hot. So very good. So at any rate, it has been running now for a week. I basically just been adding in little bits of water from the shark tank to try to give it some nutrients for the bacteria, but it's time to go ahead and get those eggs in here, and so that way if any of them hatch, they're in the right place for that to happen. So we're going to start off inside the tank. We know we have the patch down at the far end. The patch is done. We cleaned up all the old lighting, added the new lighting, and we cleaned up the top of the tank and got all the old netting and everything off. Got everything ready to go. And last but not least, we added in 2 more drains here. And you can see they have quite a bit of black silicone wrapped around the outside, so feeling pretty confident about those. But we got the 2 new drains because we took away 2 over-the-top drains. So now we have 4 in-wall drains. And of course we have added the pump that is going to pump water up and over and down into the mangrove estuary, all 20 feet of that. So the method behind the madness here is we want to have the pump down in the water column. We want to harvest all of that heat and everything coming off of that pump to help warm the water. We want to keep the pump cool by having it down in the water at all times, but we also don't want to drain past the bottom of the drain. We don't want to be pulling from down here because it would overflow the sump that's underneath. So what we have here is we have piping that comes up and it pulls from this drain here. So normally the water level will be, you know, up around here. So we're getting plenty of water coming through, but at the most it comes down to here, which is even with the bottom of the drain. So that's the method of the madness for that. Everything is black or dark gray, so it blends into the back wall pretty good. And if I do the aquascape just right, I could have a peak in the reef here in the middle that blocks that from eyesight, because obviously we'll have a big room for sharks to swim around behind it. So that checks off everything. that we had to do inside the tank. Let's go around back and check out all the work we've done back there. So checking in on the Xingu River Aquarium, if we focus on the right side of the tank here where we have the quote-unquote grow outs, we can see that they've all gotten pretty big. Some of them, especially like the tiger shovel nose, I mean, you can't call him a grow out anymore. You certainly can't call the arrow a grow out anymore either. They've become massive. Even these bumblebee Oscars, for their species, they're getting pretty close, I think, to full size. So the question is now is, when do we pull the divider? When do we unite the clans? When do the quote-unquote grow outs meet the big boys over here on the other side of the Xingu River? Well, pretty much could do it at any time. There is just one redhook silver dollar who's lagging behind in size, and there is also the albino arowana that's growing out in the grow out tank. So I'm going to give it a little more time. Hopefully, if everything works out as planned, the albino arowana will be big enough and ready to go at the same time the straggler redhook is ready to go, and I can go ahead and pull the divider and unite all the fish and get the Xingu River rolling as it was intended, not being divided. And that is definitely something that I will film. I think it'll be cool. I'll set the camera up and we'll all get to see the meshing of all the fish as it happens in the video, so that'll be cool. And then along the lines of this aquarium, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna replace the lights. So the lights I put on, they're kind of like spotlights, and it does give a cool sort of ominous effect from the, or sort of like a diluted, not diluted, diffused lighting, but it's a little bit too much of a spot beam effect where certain areas have way more lighting than others. So the plan is I am going to get some different LED strip lights that will go all the way pushed in the back. So like you can see, I'm reaching my arm and I'm, you know, it's roughly it's basically like 5 feet front to back. I think it's actually 58 inches or something instead of 60, but it's almost 5 feet. But at the very back of these panels here, which are 4-foot panels, I'm going to put those strip lights underneath there, and I'm going to get one for each section of the tank to replace these spotlights, and I'm going to reuse these existing guys over on the mangrove estuary. So that's going to give us a light push in the back where we need it, away from the glass, from growing algae on the glass, but also give us not a spot beam effect. In person, this actually looks pretty good, but on camera, it definitely, the camera picks up sort of the spot beam effect. So we're gonna fix that. It's an easy fix. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna add air to this aquarium as well. I like to have, you know, air stones running in the tank just as a backup in case there's any issues with filtration. And then lastly, we know that the big boys here have done quite a number on destroying my power heads. They've either broken, as you can see up in the top there, they've either like broken it like that or they've knocked it off like that. So I purchased pumps. I just need to take the time, and I'm going to set up internal loop water movement in here. We're going to crank up the water flow because we have excellent water flow at the beginning of the tank. As you can see here, you know, about the first 12 feet or so, we have that awesome water flow, but it really starts to dissipate here, and you can see the difference. Over here you have no algae, no cyanobacteria, and then over here you start to get it as you get not enough water flow, and you have all the little particles of food from big messy eaters like these guys. And then as you flow this way, the power heads over here aren't as broken up as the ones on the left because these guys aren't big enough to destroy them yet, but it's just a matter of time. So this side's a little better, but it can be improved. So those are future improvements coming to the Xingu River, and I think it'll show out on video once they're all implemented. It's going to look a lot better, and definitely, you know, this is my pride and joy. So I don't want to cut any corners. I want it to look its best. So I've been really wanting to show off the 600-gallon Asian jungle now that we've added CO2 to it. and the new plants because it has been doing, well, really, I think the word is phenomenal. I don't know that I've ever seen the water this clear. It's definitely looking the best it's ever looked. And all the new plants, there is no melt at all. They are looking great. All these plants that I put down here kind of sideways, they've all righted themselves, and everything is looking great. The CO2 has had no negative effects on the fish, and in a second I'll show you how I've got it set up and the precautions I'm taking so that we don't gas the fish out of the tank. But just wanted to start off by showing you the tank because it's just looking so nice. Mainly just that wall of wood back there with all the plants. Just being able to see it so much better now than ever before is awesome. And I'm also happy that these plants have been in here significantly long enough time that if they were going to be melt, we'd start to see it. So let's start with, in that back corner there, you can see that CO2 diffuser. And anyone who uses CO2 knows that that is a very minimal amount of CO2. It's on the low end. I'm definitely not cranking it. What I'm looking for is not to massively grow out these plants so much as to keep a slow, steady growth and keeping them full and looking good. So, and as opposed to melting back. So, starting off slow, and so far so good. Also, you can see that I've got the diffuser sort of suspended underneath that water return. So, hopefully the idea is to spread that CO2 out throughout the tank and get it to all the plants. Now the interesting thing is, well, before I get to that, so we'll show you how I have the CO2 set up. So you can see the canister here. You can see a rather slow rate on the bubble counter, but what you see down here is that it's plugged in to this extension cord, which is on a timer. So the CO2 only runs when the lights are on and when the air pump is on, pumping oxygen into the system. So that should offset any spikes in pH or gassing the tank with too much CO2 if it was running all the time or running at a very high clip. In terms of how much CO2 I'll disperse into the tank, it's a feeling out process. I like to start slow and see what the results are after a reasonable amount of time, a month, 2 months, whatever it takes for me to see the tank going one way or the other. And then I like to make adjustments from there based on what I'm seeing happening in the tank. I'm not going to just blast the tank with CO2 because I want the plants to grow more lush more quickly. I'm okay with taking the time. Too many fish in here that I care about and that I'm responsible for. So I don't want to do anything that is going to possibly cause any harm to these guys. So we'll take it slow. It's not a race. The nice thing about having multiple tanks is I don't have to sit here and just stare at one tank and try to speed things up. I have the luxury of plenty of other tanks to mess with while I give this one time to settle in. The funny thing is we all know that I took, well, anyone who follows the channel knows, I took almost all of the water lettuce out of this aquarium, out of the sump down here, and put in the 220 discus aquarium. And as you can see, it has already repopulated that entire chamber. It's insane how fast that stuff grows. But it also does an amazing job at not having any algae because with that water lettuce, with access to atmospheric CO2, it just starves that stuff out. And now that we're dosing CO2 into the aquarium, hopefully we can compensate for these fully submerged plants and get them what they need to also flourish, as well as I am now dosing nutrients again to the aquarium since we have the CO2, and basically so far so good. Every time I've run CO2 in the past, I've always had a very good experience. I would say I was more aggressive with how much I was putting in, and I became an aquatic farmer, always trimming. So I really don't want to do that here. So I'm going with the angle of, like I said, trying to ramp it up slowly. But anyone who looks back at old videos, you never would be able to see so clearly in the back corners, 4 feet back like that. So definitely helping water clarity an amazing amount, because that's nothing else has changed other than the CO2 in the plants. The filter is the same. But yeah, just amazing. And for anyone who hasn't seen this tank before, it is very deep. It's 4 feet, you know, from here back there. So it when you hear me harping about being able to see all the way to the back, that clearly it is kind of a big deal, you know, when it's that deep from front to back. So, and there's all that wood back there. I mean, this tank basically absorbed the tannins because you know, there's not been a lot of big water change or anything. The system is just dialing in, which is the best. I love it. All right, you know what? I think it's time for a little gratuitous feeding of these guys. Well, I won't be bumping my head into the clamps that were holding the shark egg basket up because, as we can see, all the shark eggs have been moved over to the tub. And I can tell you right now, some of them have live sharks in them because when I was moving them, I could feel them moving around in there quite aggressively. So I'm expecting any time now. They are due any time now, late October, early November. So we'll see. Like I said, definitely maybe about, gosh, how many eggs we got there? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12. I would say for absolute positive we got 4 baby sharks out of 12, maybe 5. So from me feeling them moving around in the eggs. I did throw out 1 egg which was definitely fouled, and there's a couple eggs I lightly pushed on them, and there's definitely something in there. It wasn't squirming around like some of them, wasn't super obvious, but definitely wasn't fouled. So could be more, we'll see. Okay, I have been busy. So coming onto the outside, you can see we have the plumbing all cemented together and locked in with clamps. We built some standoffs out of wood, painted them black so that we can lock these down tight. As you see, they are both locked down tight, and they are both diverting into the sump down there. And again, they're locked down here, and it's gonna be tough to see, but this one is locked into here. So everybody is nice and tight, and these 2 drains are ready to go coming around to the back. So these were already done, but they weren't really locked down. So we created another standoff here, and we've got them bolted in to the standoff. And for good measure, I went ahead and threw a J-hook into this one to give him support since he's up higher, and the other one rests right on the bottom of the sump. Which means all of our 3,000 gallon plumbing is done. And I did show you from the inside, we've got the plumbing coming up and over and down. Whoops, I need to paint that piece. And into the 1,000 gallon mangrove estuary. So you can see it's going to be returning the water well below the water line. And this is one of those random flow generator nozzle heads. So it sort of creates a laminar flow with the water, so that'll be very nice. And of course, all of our internal silicone work is done on the 1,000 gallon estuary. So we're good with the glass, we're good with bringing water to it. We have all the drains for the 3,000 gallon. Let's go down to the far end of the estuary. We have the drain for the estuary, again bolted everywhere and connected into the main drain that takes it the length of the sump back to the well, kind of the settling chamber, but also where there'll be a filter pad as well. And on the inside, I don't know if it picks it up, but we have black silicone on there as well. So we are all done with plumbing. So if we're done with all the drains, we're done with the water returns. We already have the water returns on the big tank. 2 of them actually. One for one pump here and one for the other pump here. And the lighting. I just need to add the timers and, you know, clean up a little bit. The tops are already done outside. What's left? Is it time for water? Well, let's see. As you can imagine, I did leave cleaning out the sump for last, and there is still cleanup work to do here. But that is not too hard. That is definitely just an hour or two's work on the weekend when that comes, and I will get that knocked out. So I'm gonna say that the only thing left is cleaning up the sump and adding the brace to the mangrove estuary, and we will be ready to put water and water test both the mangrove estuary. Make sure the 3,000 gallon didn't develop a leak over the many months it was offline, and check out my plumbing, make sure it all works. So as you can see, Predator Bay 3000 is 99.9% done. I want to get these videos out to you faster, so I am going to go ahead and release this now at this stage, but there's just 2 things left to do. I just need to clean out the sump and add that middle brace. That is literally nothing, nothing at all, and that's going to be done the day this releases. So the next time we see this tank, it will have water in it. It's either going to be a big smiley face for me, and you're going to see sand and aquascape happening there, because that means it passed the water test, the plumbing passed the water test, or if there's not water in there or anything other than that scenario, that means something went wrong and I screwed up in building the estuary, or I screwed up massively my plumbing. Well, I can't imagine the plumbing because it's easy to fix plumbing, but probably means I messed up massively on the estuary. So let's hope the next thumbnail for the next video has this tank with water and sand in it, because then we know things went well. If it doesn't, well, there's a problem. But you know, we're gonna knock on wood here that hopefully my track record stays true, and I built the estuary overbuilt and holding water. So you'll definitely want to check out the next video, because hopefully this good news in Predator Bay 3000 is online. And with Predator Bay being so close to done, I think it's time to pivot back over to the number 1200 gallon builds. This guy here is very far along. As you can see, the pond shield and the main tank is done. All the fiberglassing, everything is done. In the wetland sump or filter area, we have the underlayment, or the pond shield that will go on the first coat, which is a very bright color, and then we've got plenty of other ponds over there for the top color. We got plenty of silicone, and if we come around back, we've got the glass all ready to go. So it's time to fast track the first 1200 gallon build, and which is going to open us up to moving a lot of fish into new, bigger and better homes. And then of course we'll be able to come over here to the last 1200 gallon build and get cranking on this guy. So no shortage of DIY builds anytime soon. And whenever I come in here, the annex now, I always got to peek in. Has any of the sharks hatched yet? Are there any babies swimming around? Not yet. So we'll go ahead and do a big feeding, and we'll get those clown loaches out here up front and center, because they are getting huge and looking beautiful. And I know that looks crazy, but there's a lot of fish coming out of the woodwork. All of a sudden, you see that the 30 rainbow sharks that you weren't seeing before, all front and center. Of course, the red tail up here. Mr. Peaceful, never bothers anybody, and it shouldn't be too long at all before we start seeing clown loaches out here as they smell the food. Of course, the super fat Panagara down there. There's a bunch of them in here as well. And I have to tell you, I'm a little surprised the clown loaches aren't out yet. It usually doesn't take them this long. And they usually don't care about the camera either, especially when it comes time for feeding. So, oh, here we go. I spoke too soon. There's one. There's a big one. But he did shy away from the camera. You're making me look bad, clown loach. Well, let's see. We'll back off. We'll see. They're doing a pretty good job of polishing up all the food in the water column. And of course the blue spot trout danios, getting everything off the top and the bottom, because they're pretty aggressive feeders for sure. Only one clown loach sighting. That's very rare. He seems to be, he came out again and turned around when I brought the camera back. Let's see, we'll come back some. See if we can get him out. Catch everybody up here in the water column. All the rainbows, the barbs, the gourami. I feel like this tank needs some more gourami. It needs more fish in general. It's been a long time since I've added anything. I feel like the tiger barb schools, I never really beefed them back up after they thinned out. They were probably, they were old. I mean, they're definitely 4 to 5 years old at a minimum. They've been around. They've been in a few tanks before they were ever put into here. So, and once again, the clown loach is coming out and grabbing food and then diving back into the foliage. Oh, there's a good shot of him right there. There's one of the bigger ones. Oh, beautiful fish. And the rainbows. I remember when I was first thinking this tank, I was planning to have the 30 rainbows, and that was definitely not a mistake. I love these guys. All three different species variants getting along great. The red-tailed shark not bothering anybody. Everyone's favorite, the ghost sharks. The black and gray, and then of course the albino, and then the traditional. We got some in the back there. And just like that, all that food, it's gone. I'm just thinking, it's been a little while since we've seen the African cichlid tank. These guys are getting ready to get a big move. The 125 to the 750. That's going to be awesome. I'd be thinking though too, what if I should switch up? Should they go to one of the 1,200 gallons, and should the 750 be a giant Amazon community tank? What do you guys think about that? I don't know. I'm kind of I go both ways on it, but just a thought. So I'd like your opinion on that. But as you can see, Predator Bay 3000, we are on the cusp. The next video, there'll either be water in it, or you'll see me crying because I screwed up building the estuary or the plumbing. But again, if it's the plumbing, I'll fix the plumbing. If I'm crying, that means I screwed up building the estuary. So, I hope that's not the case. And I think it's pretty safe to say, from the way some of those eggs feel, that the way they're wiggling, I think in next video I may be playing the baby shark song at the beginning of the video, because we may have baby sharks. And of course, once Predator Bay 3000 is done with construction, that means I'm right back on the 1,200 double 1,200 gallon builds. So no shortage of action. I told you it was going to be a busy fall and winter, and I'm not kidding. We are just getting literally just getting going. But this is the trigger. All these new tanks come online, opens up the other tanks. So once Predator Bay 3000 is online, sharks have moved over. Well, it's full on converting the 1,800 gallon to the lagoon aquarium. And then once all the fish get moved out of the 1,500 gallon system in the lagoon aquarium, that frees up 2 other tanks. Once the 750 or once the first 1,200 gallon comes online and the fish get moved from the 750, that opens up that tank. Then we'll have a 600 open, a 265, a 750. We'll be moving these guys. Then we'll be redoing this tank. I mean, it just doesn't end. It's going to be an incredible next 6 months. So please check back next week. And as always, thanks for watching. And I'll see you very soon. Predator Bay 3000, baby. It's almost here.